I'm Jamie.
I'm John.
We were fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian household, and we both got saved at a young age. But if we're being honest, we weren't truly living for God's glory.
In 2003, we met, and then 2005, we were married. One of the greatest things we had in common is we always wanted to work with children or care for children in some way. We always wanted to foster in some way, but we weren't sure when the right time would that to happen would be. But in 2016, she went to an informational section at church, and they showed her a video called Removed. She came home and showed that to me, and it just absolutely broke us.
So we decided we needed to act now. We started the licensing process when our oldest was 7, our youngest was 5, and we explained to them what foster care was, but they didn't really know what level of brokenness and loss we were about to bring into our home. The question we get asked a lot during this foster care journey was, aren't we harming our own biological kids in the process? Aren't we causing harm to them, or are we hurting them? And to be very truthful, the answer is yes, because this really is a collision of two worlds. Maddie and Logan's world was a world of safety, stability, love, and Jesus. And we were colliding with a world of brokenness and loss.
Just despite knowing that there's going to be collateral damage within this colliding of these two different worlds, we knew that God was sovereign and He's going to make all these things to His glory.
Our first placement was reunified with her dad in 2018. And at that time, we got a call from our licensing support worker urging us to take a sibling group, which again wasn't in our plan. We were only licensed for one child. We had planned on just taking one child into our home, but the shelter that these boys were in desperately needed a break. They needed respite for the summer, and so we said yes, we would take the boys for the summer.
When the boys were placed with us, Luke was 4 years old and Aaron was 2.5. Just despite Luke being so young, you could just see the anger in his eyes, and Aaron had so many medical issues that have been neglected for so long. It was like, how is he going to get all the attention that he needs and deserves?
The goal for the plan was for the boys to go back to their mom. Mom had a parenting plan in place. The goal was reunification, and they were having infrequent visits with mom during this time period.
They ended up staying with us past the 30 days. But then after that, Luke's behaviors set in when he started VPK. Really upset, trashed the classroom, got brought up to the office, to the director's office. He was trashing that office. Nobody could control him. And needless to say, he was expelled from that school. At another school, he got so angry, he strangled a young girl and actually left his fingerprints around her neck.
Luke would go have these tantrums that were 2 and 3 hours long, breaking stuff in our home, breaking windows, destroying toys, breaking our other kids' toys, and hurting himself, trying to hurt others. And during this time, COVID hit. So our church kind of closed down and went completely virtual. We were so thankful to find out that Bow Down was still open and having face-to-face services. We needed church. We came to Bow Down, and again, just such a God thing that the second service we were at, we found out that Bow Down was loving and serving the very community that our boys were removed from. Soon after that, we joined a house church, and then the prayers started pouring in. Prayers for our situation, for healing, for peace, prayers for the boys, prayers specifically for Luke, Maddie and Logan and Aaron, just so many prayers.
And that was one of the great things about house church, is that it was just prayers. It was no, oh, you should try this and you should do that, because we had enough of that going on.
When Luke's mom's rights were terminated at the beginning of 2022, Luke this whole time was very well aware of his status as a kid in foster care. He knew his mom wasn't completing her parenting plan. He had an understanding that there could be a situation where he wasn't going to go back with mom. When he finally accepted that, there was this level of rage that we hadn't yet experienced. He became angrier and more sad. And this is kind of where things hit the ceiling, or the bottom fell out. As we were inching our way to adoption, Luke's behaviors and rage intensified to where it completely broke me. I was exhausted. My kids were scared of him. I remember specifically during one of his tantrums, he was inside the living room, and I was trying to keep him from harming himself and tearing our house apart. I sent our other kids outside for safety. And at that moment, I was texting with our people from our house church to just pray, drop everything and pray at this moment. And they did. It was in that moment that I realized I hadn't fully surrendered to the Lord. There was a part of me that was still trying to control this. And it took that for me to completely surrender to the will of God. I knew at that moment God was the only one that could change Luke's heart. For that next year, literally hands and knees, I was surrendering daily to the will of God, praying more than I think I'd ever prayed before in my life. Our house church family was praying for us every day. And I can honestly say that those prayers changed the trajectory of our lives. On December 19th, 2022, we adopted the boys, and there was so much peace and joy in that decision that only could have come from the Lord. Maddie and Logan got to see the brokenness and the loss, but then they also got to experience God's mercy and faithfulness in that and the healing that took place. Adoption and foster care has really become our family mission to share the gospel with others. It's a tangible way that our kids can share Jesus. As if God's placed something on your heart, don't wait to act on it like we did for so long. Time is just so short. I think back of when Pastor Chris shared that video of Francis Chain and the rope analogy and just how short of time we have on earth to act, right?
But it was actually our kids who wanted to continue fostering. So with them being excited about it, which again is just unfathomable to me, that's just God, we decided to continue fostering, and we took in a 7-month-old, or he's now 7 months, but when we first got him, he was only 7 days old. And we were actually able to adopt him, which was never the plan.
So you have to take that step of faith and trust that God's going to meet you in those deep waters. And you have to surrender to his will. You might not like the plan that he has. You might not feel happy about the plan, but surrendering to the will of God is the only way that you're going to experience his peace and his joy that only he can give you.